what's up, everybody? Welcome to Glory Hunters. We're down for about 2 weeks because of prior business engagement, but we're getting back up with the usual Sunday podcast. I hope you enjoy it. I got Glory Hunter Nick here. I'm going with the week in football. Of course, there is an international break. Not too much to report other than, well, who's pretending to be injured. We'll go over that and all the other stories that are going on in the football world, from MLS to the championship all the way down to Mexico or anywhere else we can get a story. So, we can kick it off right now. There's a lot of players saying they're hurt. This is a problem. It kind of feeds into the podcast we did a little earlier. It's pretty clear to me they're playing too many games, and every chance they get to take a friendly off of these international breaks, unless it's a qualifier, unless it's for something important, they're going to do this every time. I can't say I blame them. I think they play too many matches. I think Rodri's right. Your opinion? This does definitely feel like a break. We had to really scrape the barrel for stories this week, but I want to hear your take on it.
I'm okay with them skipping friendlies because those games don't matter. And I think it's better for international football if they do kind of skip these games. I know it's Nations League, so technically it's not friendly, but yeah. They're glorified friendlies, right?
Glorified.
Because then, like you saw with Germany's team, you had people like Johnny Burkhardt actually got to play this time round, and that young guy that Leach really likes from Köln, I think he got called up as well. And so I think with these like nation leagues and like friendlies games, I think it makes it more exciting to see some new players into the national teams. And so, yeah. They do play a lot of games, so fuck it. Let Saka, Havertz, whoever be injured for the international break so they don't get injured playing a friendly and ruin their club season.
Some sus injuries. Saka, Havertz, who else is on the sus list that you know?
Harry Kane is injured for England, I think. Pretty can't think of a lot off the top of my head. There was a couple of French players as well. I think Mbappe is another one. I think he's missed France's games. So it's like you see this all the time with these like international breaks where it's not a qualifier or an actual tournament, and so all of a sudden they get injured, they have a knock, so they can't play for the national team, and then they'll be back in the league season.
And no problem.
Like Arsenal, if Saka or Havertz gets injured playing a friendly for Germany or England, you're going to be absolutely fuming, aren't you?
Yeah, we talked about Rodri last week. He actually got a season-ending injury after talking about striking being too many games, which is ironic, to say the least. I mean, would it just be better to kind of scrap the whole Nations League thing and stop pretending it's worth something with this? I mean, nobody talks about it. Nobody in Europe talks about it. They don't care if England's in the first, second, or third league in the Nations League. The only time you get a little buzz if there's an actual final. It seems to have more value in North America, to be perfectly honest with you, than it does in Europe. Would it just be better to maybe scrap these teams and kind of just do what you said? Take some guys that maybe show some potential, like maybe the USA team can bring up some MLS guys or a little mix. You get to be good experience to play with a player like Polisek and guys that play on first league teams throughout the Big Five or even the Netherlands for that matter. I mean, maybe being a little more open and honest about the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I get why people like Kane maybe want to play in these games to get their stats up for the national team. But
yeah.
I don't know. I think it could bring a bit of interest to the teams if you're putting new players out there. Like, I don't know, like Lee Carsley is England manager. He's like, look, we're going to use this to experiment. We're going to give new guys a chance to play. And you can sort of see how they would do in an England shirt. Because there's obviously players who don't play a lot or whatever, who like people would be calling for to be in the national team. Someone like Noni Madueke or I don't know, Anthony Gordon didn't really get to play in the Euros. People like that or like Tyrone Mings at the back, whoever, right? Levi Colwood got called up for this one. It's like, I don't know. For me personally, I'd be more interested to see an England team of 11 players who don't normally make the tournaments play to sort of see how they would do in an England shirt, sort of see how they do under the manager, because then maybe they play good enough to get a chance in the actual team.
Yeah.
Rather than now, where it's like sort of like a hodgepodge of some of the first team players, some not, because the first team players are all claiming injury and don't want to play. And so it's like, they're just friendly games where they mean nothing and there's not a lot of interest.
And you can still get
not a lot
hurt.
of interesting things there. Yeah, exactly. You can still get hurt.
Yeah.
There's players that you see normally anyway, and it's a friendly. So it's like I haven't watched any of it. I can't tell you the last time I watched a Nations League game. Honestly, couldn't care less about these.
I watched, was it Croatia, Italy, or whatever? It was a final, and the Croatia managed to blow that one too. Which meaningful record was the hardest to achieve? Fergie's 13 Prems, Pep's Premier League 4-peat, Mourinho's 9-year unbeaten run, Ancelotti's 5 USC titles and the most VLC wins, and Zidane's 3-peat. What's more difficult in your? This cuts right to the heart of your view, because you believe that Pep Guardiola is the greatest coach of all time, including Sir Alex Ferguson, which might get you in a fight in Manchester. Could.
Yeah.
Could.
Well, they're wrong. So
no problem.
I'll have truth on my side.
You're taking a beating.
Exactly. I'll know I'm right as I'm getting kicked.
Yeah.
I'll have the moral victory.
I'll tell you what I take off. I'll take Zidane off right away because those teams are just stacked. I'm more.
I don't know.
Really?
I don't know, actually.
Okay.
I think I wouldn't have Fergie's 13 Premier Leagues up there because if Guardiola stayed long enough, he would have 13 Premier Leagues.
He could still. He's still young enough where he probably could. How many does he have now?
Saying, the only reason he won't be that is because I think he'll leave.
Me too. Yeah.
But he's got what, like 6, 5? He's on 5 or he's like 5 in 6 years, or 6 in 7 years, something along those lines.
Yeah, something like that.
So you're telling me if he stayed 18, 19 years in the Premier League, he wouldn't have 13 titles? I don't think so. He's obviously going to have that.
Yeah.
Mourinho's 9-year unbeaten run at home is pretty impressive. That is a tough one to beat.
And what teams were they?
That would have been Chelsea, Inter Milan, Real Madrid, I believe.
Jesus. I mean, that...
There was a point where Chelsea were unbeaten at home for like a really long time. And obviously that started with Mourinho's time.
I kind of like that one.
That one is a tough one. Because all it takes is one off day to like completely kill that after like, you think you get like 7 years into that and then you'd have one off day and all of a sudden it's gone.
Come to think of it, let's cross Pep's off. Because City cheats.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, City cheats.
But no one's ever done it. Not even Fergie with his 13 titles, he couldn't do it.
Yeah, but it's just a different
I would
world.
argue Fergie did it in an easier time to do it.
I think I would agree with you.
Because that's one thing United fans never mention is the fact that you look at Pep Guardiola, right? He's got the big 6, or the rich 7 to compete with. Like Chelsea can financially compete with signing players. United can, Liverpool occasionally can, Arsenal are up there, you've got City. That's 5 teams that realistically you have to beat to win these titles.
Sure.
Fergie had Arsenal, Liverpool, and then towards the very end Chelsea came into the picture. So he had 3 teams that could financially compete with his Manchester United side, 2 for like the 90s because Chelsea only became relevant after Abramovich took over. Sure. So I would argue it's even more impressive that he got that 4-peat, but because he's got bigger competition where more sides can financially compete with City in the market. But I'm leaning towards
Mourinho, and I'll tell you why. I don't think
Mourinho's good.
Mourinho. You look at something like 9 years at home, multiple teams, multiple different levels. And we, including you, I'm a lot older. I'm a good 20 years older than you, but I could see dying and no one coming close to a record like that. And I could see you dying, saying that's something you wouldn't see again in a lifetime.
Yes.
Yeah. So my vote's for now that I'm really thinking about it, I'm giving it to Mourinho.
I think the UCL 3-peat is really up there, though.
Really? Why? I mean, it's.
No one's done it. Like, the UCL is the most unpredictable thing for the winners.
I bet I'd have won one if I had that team.
One.
Yeah.
Not 3
we probably have to have 4. That's true.
3 in a row. Pep's never done it. Fergie's never done it. Ancelotti, the most successful manager in the tournament history, has never done it. It is like it doesn't sound as hard. But
And
the
he's
fact
not
that no one
considered
has
as great a manager
ever done
as
it.
any of those guys. In fact, I always feel like Zidane always gets out before it looks like it's going to go against him.
I'd say he's only ever managed Real Madrid.
Yeah.
That's a man who knows he's not good enough. If you only ever manage Real Madrid in your career and you're like, I'm not going to take any other jobs,
I am more impressed with guys.
I'm good with this really, really good team, but I ain't good enough to carry anyone else up.
You know, I am more impressed with guys like Jürgen Klopp that start in very least second leagues or bring teams up all the way to first or something like that. Those guys are, you really want to, here's a guy I wonder about, that Joker over in Heidenheim and what he's done over there. I mean, what does he know that nobody else knows? Mm-hmm. Heidenheim does not have a big budget for salaries. I'm more impressed with that. But, I mean, now that you mention it, yeah, Fergie only had to compete against 3 teams. Pep cheats. Well, Pep doesn't cheat, but they cheat.
Pep's team cheats.
Mourinho. Ancelotti's 5 USC titles and most UFC wins. That's impressive. That's multiple
Pep
teams.
Pep is close to beating that, though. That's the only thing.
Oh, okay.
Like, Pep is only like 20 wins.
He'll more than likely win that.
He's managed like 5 years less or some shit like that. So
how many titles? How many Champions League titles does he have?
He has 3 Champions Leagues.
He's 2 more. He's totally dual.
He's really close. I think Pep's only like 3rd on UCL wins. He has the most knockout wins.
Oh, really?
That's why it's most UCL wins. Most knockout wins is Pep Guardiola already.
And with the system change, more Jay. I mean, that's almost a slam dunk. Yeah. I'm with Mourinho. Mourinho's I'm with Mourinho.
I'm gonna go Zidane 3P.
Oh, really? You're just being a contrarian. Oh, come on.
No, because honestly, like the fact that competition has existed for so long, and no one's ever been able to do it 3 times. Because you see it all the time. All these top managers with amazing teams, and they somehow lose it because all it takes is 1 game to knock you out. I don't think we'll see that replicated. Whereas I know Liverpool had like a really long unbeaten streak at home at Anfield, which obviously didn't make it. They came close to Chelsea's record, and so there is for me a slight more chance that someone does the home unbeaten record than the 3-peat.
Switching to MLS, Lionel Messi, despite missing half the season, is still the clear MVP. Yes, but I want to put not an asterisk that implies that it was unearned. Yeah, he's probably, I think you make an argument he's still one of the most valuable players on the planet. Because I still think in his condition he could go play Champions League football, which is the best football in the world, and be more than effective. I think the thing that's important to win, and there's one more game against the team that actually set the point record, and there is more emphasis put on a regular season in England than there is in the United States. It's really MLS Cup for or bust. But this will be 2 championships for him. When he's still being measured against Ronaldo, that's a different topic, though. This team, and it's not just Suarez and Busquets. This is what I want people to remember. The Ian Fraze. Oh God, who's the German guy? This team, you got different scores every week. Messi's out a good chunk of it with injury in Copa, and just Argent. He's obviously hasn't given up international football as of yet. This team has stepped up in every way at every position, all the way to the keeper. And I want Messi to get credit. I think he's just the most valuable player, probably because the emotional impact that he's had in this team. You saw it right away. You saw a last place MLS team win a very difficult trophy against teams that play in a better league, which would be the Liga MX or the Mexican Premier League I grew up with. While I think he does deserve this, I don't want anything taken away from the rest of this team. Certainly Suarez contributed greatly, a lot more than a lot of people thought he had. Certainly Busquets, but it's the role players in this team that made it a championship team and probably going to make them favorite going to MLS Cup. I just want people to remember that it wasn't just Messi, that this Miami team is going to be considered one of the great MLS teams of all time. They will play a New England Revolution to just set the point record recently, and if they win it, they'll take it by a point, and they'll have not only the championship, the point record, that I want to remember that these guys stood up at every position, and it's just been an incredible season. Any disagreement or anything to chime in on? I know it's kind of what do you call it? Definitive on that statement, but no, I really want people to remember they contribute how everybody contributed to this team, and they were still fun to watch when Messi was gone.
Yeah, I mean, the fact they're going for the points record, and as that headline says, despite he missed the half the season.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I obviously haven't watched a lot
Sure.
of MLS, haven't really watched Miami, so I can't speak about their actual performance in games. But the fact that they're going for a point record and Messi missed half the season shows that it was clearly more than Messi, right?
Yeah.
You don't go for a point record missing the main guy. Like, if he's carried them to this points total, how the fuck are they going for the record when he missed half a season? That just speaks to clearly they must be a really good side, even without Lionel Messi, to be able to be keeping up the pace whilst he's gone.
And I also want to say it's more than Busquets and it's more than Suarez too. I think it's the midfield, it's the backfield, it's the goaltender, it's everybody, it's the guys coming off the bench. Everybody's contributing when they're called up. I do think that is a direct impact of morale by Lionel Messi, which would make him the most valuable player almost by default. But this, I don't want this. I know with the Cosmos, and this is fair. Well, they had Pele and Beckenbauer. Of course, they won everything. Yeah, okay, and it was just, but the level of football there would be regional league. That the regular players that they had, the role players they have, were regional league at best. I don't even think they were that good. I'll be perfectly honest. In the 70s, that's not the case anymore. And the role players really did their job. And I think it's not only a tribute to Miami, but I think it's a tribute to the MLS in general and what a much higher level that they are playing. The average player is not a bum, and that they can play in a second league in Germany, and they can play in the higher lower leagues like a League One or something like that. They're not all first league guys. There's certainly not, but championship, pretty good league. Second Bundesliga, pretty damn good league. The high promotion league in La Liga, pretty damn good league. These guys could, I think, definitely play in those leagues and be effective. And for whatever reason, they found themselves there. And you're also seeing a lot of guys. We probably get South American guys you miss. We got probably better scouting just by virtue of being closer. But shout out to Lionel Messi. As long as they don't play my team, I hope they go all the way. But they have their work cut out with them getting through Columbus. And also kind of a shout out to I think you want to look at LA Galaxy. This is a good season too. And in all these teams, but they just pulled away at the end, as you can see here. But yeah, remember, it wasn't just Messi. Hong Min Sun's father and brother have been fined 3 million, excuse me. Only around 2,000 euros. Sorry. For abusing kids at a football academy. Allegedly hit and insulted young players in Korea. You know what I thought when I thought that? Why do I think that's kind of normal over there? Why do I think they just got caught?
It does kind of play into a stereotype, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does a little bit. Yeah, work harder, do your homework. And I guess Son's a tough player. He gets in there. He's a good football player. He's not a pushover by any stretch. Maybe
damn good footballer. If beating him and berating him made him the player he is, surely I would, as a parent, I wouldn't be complaining about doing that to my kids. If my son is going to become Heung-min Son, do whatever.
And if you had an issue with it, it's like, look, you've done really well for yourself. You can afford yourself the best psychiatrist in the world. Look at it that way, So
exactly on his money, easily, man. He could have like 5 on the go, all telling him all sorts.
That being said, I guess now let's do the Western point of view. Get your hands off the fucking kids. It's not that fucking important. Yeah. It really isn't. So
yeah, I doubt it has that much impact, but
no, it doesn't. It's funny to talk about, but I mean, get your
Project Heung-min Son.
Yeah, maybe if you can put your hands in kids that don't belong there, they're not hungry enough. At least in the States, unless you're in they don't really hit you in the military. I mean, how necessary it could be for football, I don't know. Yeah, we already mentioned the Messi record. Our big story for today, number one, talking about Jürgen Klopp. He will be what is it, the global head of soccer for Red Bull, which he'll oversee. What's the Brazilian team's name again?
RB Bragantino.
Bragantino, according to RB New York, Salzburg, and of course the great RB Leipzig. Doesn't have a real fan base. When they came here to Wiesbaden, they were just like, we have more. We had more away fans show up for. We had more away fans show up for teams you never heard of. Like Bielefeld and Saarbrücken and stuff like that. They're ultras. They packed the house. RB Leipzig were just, they had a foam figure and said "Go team,"
Saarbrücken was probably the worst choice you could have made. That teams you haven't heard of, and then you pick one of the biggest stories in German football.
Well, last year, it's a year ago. Everybody forgot about it. Yeah, it was definitely a big story. Nobody's talking about it now. Germans are like, what have you done for me lately? I certainly have no problem with this. I don't care how Dortmund fans feel. Screw them. Well, they're saying they're dead to us, but we kept to get out of here. I believe that Jurgen Klopp realized. I'm sure he's sorry he stayed an extra year, and I think this happens to all these guys. I think that's why you're going to see Pep move on. They're basically telling these guys the same shit over and over again, and your voice gets old in the locker room, and there's only so much you can do. So the best thing to do, especially if you're a winning coach, is to give it a good 7 years. He spent 7 years in Mainz. He spent 7 years at Dortmund. He spent 8 seasons in Liverpool, and they were more than happy with him. They would have kept him. I also think it wasn't a good idea to announce retirement. I think that may have why it had an instantaneous jump for Liverpool. I think it affected them towards the end. You started seeing a Jurgen Klopp fight with Salah. And I think that's probably why he got out. So he's only, 55, 56 years old. There was no way he was going to sit his ass home in Wiesbaden. This is not that exciting a town. I live here. So, he's still a young man coach-wise. And there's plenty for him to do. So I guess why not? I guess the only question is, do we see him taking the field with the baseball tap for RB Leipzig down the road? Is he working his way in there, or do we fire a coach? Does he sub in a situation like this? Is this really the best place for him to be? This sounds like a lot of responsibility over a lot of clubs. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think it could be like the natural progression for, like, he's won it all as a coach, and so this is like a new challenge for him, rather than focusing on the actual on-pitch stuff, actually building up the different clubs and sort of building on what Ralf Rangnick was doing there before. Because like Leipzig have always been close to a Bundesliga title, but never quite made it. And maybe he can he's looking at it as, I can be the guy who can then take these clubs to the next level. Have Salzburg win a Europa League or something like that. And so yeah, I think it's a really interesting opportunity for Jurgen Klopp. And you saw it with Rangnick when he was there. Like when Hasenhüttl left Leipzig, Rangnick stepped in as coach for the rest of the season until Nagelsmann got there. So there is also always the possibility that Klopp has to do a similar thing where he steps in to coach one of these sides when they need him as well. So we could see him going on the touchline for one of these Red Bull sides. But I think, and like obviously Rangnick now is back in coaching. He's now the Austria coach. So
Sure.
I don't think this is like a close on his managerial career. There's always the possibility that Klopp comes back to management. But I do think, yeah, I can see why it would be a really interesting opportunity for someone like that who's, he's done it as a coach. Now, why not do it at the higher level? Try and build from the top rather than being the guy having to build from the bottom.
The way I understand this job, he's the manager of all the managers. And general manager, guys that pick the team. If their managers don't pick, he's in charge of them. He's deciding if they're doing a good job or at their best. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe so.
So he would be overseeing New York then directly.
Probably yes.
Really?
He probably will have input on who coaches New York, or moving players there maybe, or.
Is that too big? Is that a big job? I mean, is that too much? All those clubs, because there's very few positions like this in all of football.
Well, because it'll be like like a supervisor sort of role. Because you've obviously still got like the sporting directors at Red Bull who will be doing like the scouting and
Yeah.
buying the players and looking at the coaches. He probably just has like a, he can step in and sort of work with the sporting directors and sort of have a final say on things would be my guess on what it's going to be like. So like the Red Bull Salzburg sporting director will confer with Klopp and be like, look, I'm looking at this manager, he's done this and these players, and he'll give his input and whatnot.
You tried to explain this to me about a year ago. Rangnick was he influence on Klopp, or there was another coach that was influence on both of them? I give me a little bit of history here.
So Jürgen Klopp, really can't think of the manager, but there was a manager at Dortmund in the 90s. I think you know him.
Passed away recently.
Yeah, might have. I really can't think of his name, but basically him and Ralf Rangnick in the like 90s and early 2000s brought this gegenpress, high pressing German style of play to the country and sort of revolutionized the football there. And then Jürgen Klopp obviously descended from that Dortmund coach and cites him as like his main like inspiration for his footballing style and philosophy. Whilst Ralf Rangnick, you've got the likes of Thomas Tuchel, worked under him, and all of the Red Bull coaches. So like Red Bull football is Ralf Rangnick football. And so all of the coaches that have come through the Red Bull system and sort of learned and play a similar style to Red Bull are all Rangnick's sort of like students. And so to have Jürgen Klopp, who comes from like a similar beginning where this other coach who was working at the same time as Rangnick playing similar football and sort of bringing that to Germany as well, it makes sense that they would want Jürgen Klopp there because he obviously has very similar ideas to Rangnick, who sort of built... He's like the biggest catalyst for Red Bull becoming as big as an institution in football as it is, was like through the stewardship of Ralf Rangnick. And so maybe Klopp can have a similar effect where he can then take them the next step.
But correct me if I'm wrong. Did you tell me that Klopp kind of did his own, like if you took Klopp, Liverpool, Dortmund, Mainz football, the Gegenpress, what have you, isn't, you always thought that it was sort of a variation of Red Bull football. I mean, are you saying that Rangnick and Klopp have a lot of the same ideas?
Yeah.
And if that's the case, how much of an impact do you think it'll have? Are we getting more of the same, or are we getting something a little different?
Well, so it's partially more of the same, probably, because they both have similar principles. But you look at their managerial careers, who's had the more successful time as an actual manager? Jürgen Klopp.
Yeah.
So, his evolution on this style of football has clearly brought more success as a manager than Ralf Rangnick's ever achieved. And so maybe the theory's that, okay, so Rangnick's got Leipzig and Salzburg and all these Red Bull clubs to the position where they are now, really strong clubs in their countries.
Sure.
Jürgen Klopp, the more successful manager with similar ideas, can maybe then be
They go at it. I got you.
Next step with them. Yeah.
I got you. All right. So that's our big story for today. Podge and Tito makes his first stop. Let's give this a little watch. Maybe we'll get claimed. I don't know.
Mauricio, he's a fantastic manager, but he's also a fantastic human being. He has been successful in Europe, so he's gonna bring all his experience. And I think him and the USA soccer together, they're gonna bring so much happiness to the fans.
No es que no pensaba que fuera entrenador, simplemente que cuando él empezó era muy
Tata Martino.
Y lo único que evidentemente tenía en su cabeza es hacer una muy buena carrera como futbolista. His staff are very honest people. They got very good principles, very good values.
I have to say, Podge looks good in the old red, white, and blue.
And that's why I'm always wish them the best wherever they go.
USA is fascinating for to try to build a project for many years and able to get national team next step. And because the potential in USA is there and for the amount of people and sports and so on. So the best of luck. I know is a top class manager, experienced manager.
I guess we should be pretty happy getting a pod. You said this is an excellent move for USA. Certainly all the USM, the men's team fans are just over the moon about this situation. How realistic is Pochettino? Obviously, his first game we beat Panama 2-0 last night. What's considered a successful run? World Cup really just being only 2 years around the corner, 2.5 years around the corner. What's a good marker for him that he's been successful there, with the possible exception of winning the whole thing?
I think success for me would be quarterfinals or maybe push semi-finals. I think
semis, I'd be happy.
Yeah,
semis
like,
and overachieve.
Semis is like really good, but there's you always need the luck of the draw to be able to make the semi-finals. That's why I'd say like quarterfinals, but like you go out to like a France or something. I think that's still easily.
And quarterfinals next World Cup is basically semi-finals in a previous World Cup because we have extra teams next year too. So yeah, I'd be happy with quarters, but semis would just be dreamy.
He's not going to win the whole tournament.
No, I don't think so.
Quarters or semis is like he's had a really good run. That's like clear that getting this world-class manager in has paid off because you've managed to make a really good run. And then he goes and wins like a Gold Cup or whatever.
Yeah, that Gold Cup. We want the
that's like your standard. But as far as like World Cup goes, I think if he makes quarters or at a push semis, then I think that's certainly a really
all right. How possible is it?
I think it is. Like I say, there's always the luck of the draw. It's always really hard to go with the luck of the draw.
Good draw, good play, potentially semis, quarterfinals.
Like he's a top coach, and the US do have like a really talented squad. You're seeing players like Pulisic are finally flourishing.
Really
again.
are.
Josh Sargent's killing it in the championship.
Yeah.
There is a talented side there. I think a lot of football fans have said this for a while now, and they're sort of getting to that age now where this USA team needs to actually start going and like improving on that potential, because they've always been a potentially good side. And now's the time for them to actually be a good side.
And I think it's a pressure too, because you actually can look back to like the Donovan generation. They actually have achieved more, and they're getting up. I'm not saying they're all not old by any stretch, but they're getting up there in years. Now is the time to put your mark on there and say, yeah, we were better than the previous generation. Otherwise, I think if this were to end today, if you look back to the Landon Donovan, Clint Dempsey era, you'd have to say that's better. That was a better generation. So it's really it's kind of do or die to make an impact on USA soccer.
Well,
go ahead. No, go right ahead.
I was just going to say I would look at Morocco in the last World Cup. Morocco had a really good run, and I'd say on paper USA's team is just as talented as that Moroccan team. And so a run like Morocco had,
bingo, yeah,
is exactly what I would say is a success.
Yeah. Let's move on. In video game news, Zealand, he essentially said that, well, I'll tell you what happened first. That'd probably be more important. Football Manager pushed to March. There's supposedly going to be some big updates in 24, which I don't know why they just don't push till next year. Probably because they need some kind of product out to justify all that work. And he made a comment that I would say it bugged me. I just disagreed with it. I love Zealand. I love Zealandism. I love both his channels. I think he's great he's the guy you want. You don't want to. He's not a bum by any stretch. But he did say that this company that makes Football Manager is kind of sounding like a lot of kind of a big. You can't really trust them anymore. They almost sound like an EA Sports or something like that. The thing is, it's what I understand about making video games. This probably was the best move. A better move would have been saying we're skipping right from 24 to 26. That probably, but this new engine stuff, it's not just like an update. Everything has to change, and it's got to be up to standards. I actually am a little more comfortable with the fact that they're pushing it rather than put out a crappy product. And we already been told that national team management was out of the question at that point. So it sounds like to me something like that. I mean, if you can manage one team, you can manage the other. I mean, it sounds like they're behind, way behind, to put out a decent product. As a fan, I guess I'd want the product, but I don't want slop. And you can sit there and say, yeah, now they sound like every other company. But if they put up slop, then they're every other company too. I'd rather them wait a year. Do you think there's anything to read into this? This game becoming so much a part of the culture, as much as more than FIFA. I mean, God, I know people that don't even like the game that play it. And it'll get you into the game. People it will get you in the game. You will learn a lot about world football if you play Football Manager. You might even fall in love with a player you've never seen before. As it happened to you, from what I understand, right? There's some player that you follow that played well for you in Football Manager. So
yeah,
now
Manva Agaronian.
yeah,
his team played today, actually.
Oh, really?
I got the notifications that they lost 2-0 in the Russian third tier.
it's
Crushed.
It's completely unique, but I mean, I think to get the graphics to work with this new engine and have all, I mean, logistics and the statistics work. I think it's just, for a dev team this size, it's just too much to ask. I mean, there's only, it's 12 months in a year, man, and they got to pull one out every year. I knew they'd push. I wasn't expecting this, but in a weird way I was, because I think I have a grasp on what they're asking for, and competing with EA on putting a product out in each year. We've noticed like that every generation from PlayStation 2 to 3, the product gets worse. I'd rather them push, and maybe I think long term, if we get Football Manager and we're really satisfied with it, because we're probably gonna have the same engine for a good 10 years. At very least, we've had this engine for almost 10 years. I think if there's no complaints and people still like it, then it's a huge success, and it was a smart move. Maybe it would have been better to just scrap and go right to 26, but that probably has financial logistics that I don't understand. So I don't know. What do you think of the whole thing? Are you mad at the company?
I'm not mad at the company, but then I'm not like a diehard player, I suppose.
Yeah.
But the thing is, yeah, I agree. Where like, if the game's not ready, it's better to push it back. You've seen it time and again. Look at like Cyberpunk's release, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true.
It had all this hype, and then
No Man's Sky
killed it. No Man's Sky.
It's a great game now. Yeah.
Killed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great game now, but that took years.
Years.
To recoup.
Yes, 7 or 8.
Like, that's the thing. Is like, so you put out a bad product that can absolutely kill all hype for the franchise, and it's really grown. Like Zealand was covering, they had the Football Manager World Cup this year. I think it was like the first ever Football Manager World Cup. He's really growing, and so if they put out a completely broken mess, it could be really damaging. More so, and it could put a lot more people off. Like I think the right decision is to push it back if it's not ready. It sucks from a fan's point of view, because obviously you want to be playing the new game. But yeah, I agree with the fact that I think it could be disastrous to put out a broken piece of shit. And everyone who's unhappy with them pushing it back, how many are going to be happy that they've got a broken mess?
Yeah, the thing is, they're angry.
Complaining just as much. Right?
They're angry. Because it got pushed back, but are they never going to play again? Will they? I don't. Maybe, but I tell you what will chase people away from the game: a broken mess. So that seems like, to me, it's the right decision. It's the smarter decision. And like I said, there's only 12 months in a year. It was probably too much to switch engine with the size of the dev team, the size of this company. They probably can't hire the amount of people to split the team and put it in 2 different directions at once. From what I understand, they're going to try to make up for it and release some stuff for Football Manager 24, but I think it's the right move. And if you're not complaining in a year and you forget about this part in Football Manager history, then it's a success. And it would just make a smooth transition to the Unreal Engine, which is a really great engine. Let's go to, I thought this might have been a swing at Jürgen Klopp. I don't think so anymore. Pep Guardiola talking straight facts at managerial sackings. People talk about projects and ideas that don't exist, even though we heard them talk about the USA project just before, didn't we? Oh, USA. You have to win or you be replaced, which is absolutely true. But I initially thought that he was being sarcastic, as he has a tendency to be. I don't think anybody has better sarcasm in sports than Pep Guardiola. My favorite Pep moment is they got a quote of Zlatan criticizing him about, I think it was like, it was about Erling Haaland. He says something like, he doesn't care if he wins, he cares if he wins his way, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, of course. And the reporter asked Pep about that. He looked him right in the eye. He's absolutely right. I hope we lose every game. It was perfect. But this is not a swing. This is just straight talk, I suppose.
I don't know. I think if it's a swing, it's more a swing at United and their absolute mess now than anything. That's what I interpret it as.
Ooh.
If he's throwing shade at anyone, it's the Man United project that is crashing and burning before our eyes, and Ten Hag is about to be replaced, supposedly.
Okay. The other thing in the German media, they kept on talking about the Red Bull project and using that word, which is identical. Oh, dear, it's spelled differently, but it's identical. Over and over again. Oh, I thought he might be taking a little swing at him, but when I read it in German, but yeah, maybe it's a little swing at that. But I mean, take the sarcasm out of it. You know, I do wonder sometimes when people talk about football like science, that at the end of the day, you just need to put more goals in the net in the next team. And, you know, they use this sort of flowery language about project and art and all this other crap. And it's really just get these guys to win as best you can. At the end of the day, if you can do it, if you do it, you're rewarded. If you can't, you get fired. It's just that simple. That's just the way I saw it. Maybe it's a swing at the Tuchel project. Coach Thomas Tuchel's negotiating position of head coach of England. I know you like Tuch. He didn't really do a half-bad job at Bayern last year. I think it was just an amazing season. I also think the sail kind of fell off the boat before he got there, as Lothar Matthäus had pointed out years earlier that everybody laughed at him for, because people like to laugh at Lothar Matthäus over here in Germany. How do you feel about that, when Tuchel coming on as an Englishman?
Well,
you're a German Englishman too. So
I'm in a very unique position where I don't want him to get the job for very, very specific reasons.
Let's hear it.
At work, I was giving it the big un, saying that we should sack Gareth Southgate for Thomas Tuchel for the World Cup and the Euros. I was giving it the big un after we lost, saying Thomas Tuchel would have won that if we had Thomas Tuchel in, because he's a world-class manager and he's way better than Southgate.
Yeah.
And now, if he gets the job, he has to bloody win. Otherwise, I'm going to get absolutely shreds.
Oh, you don't want the pressure.
And so, yeah, I don't want him to have to actually live up to the bullshit I was saying at work. So that's why I don't want him to get the job.
Gotcha.
But, yeah, like I say, I was saying before, he was my pick for a couple. Like ever since it was like he was leaving Bayern, I was like, get Thomas Tuchel. He's the best manager on the market. He's a top class manager. It doesn't fucking matter where he's from.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna get people like, oh yeah, it should be an English manager. There's no way we can have a German managing the English national team. They will shut the fuck up if we win a World Cup.
Yeah.
Because
they'll make him English.
He will be a fucking god.
They'll knight him.
He'll be Sir Thomas Tuchel. Yeah. You know, like, you know, it's all well and good you're saying you don't want a German in charge now, but if we fucking win something with him, that'll be gone. Everyone will absolutely adore the man. So that's why I wouldn't listen to that shit.
Best elected Thomas Tuchel. Yeah, go ahead.
He's the best manager on the market right now, so fuck it.
Would you took Pochettino?
Why not?
Would you been happy with if Pochettino's still on the market, Tuchel turns out the job, would you take Poch?
Yeah.
To Chelsea? Yeah, okay. Just wondered.
As far as like managers who need a job, they're two of the best out there. Okay. So fuck it. Get the best.
Let's take a look at Champions League. Dortmund leading. Are they better than we think they are?
Who have they played?
Let's go check. I'm not 100% sure there. Club Brugge and Celtic. Wait a minute. And Celtic. Not exactly heavyweights, and they're going to have a rematch against the Champions League final next week or next time with Madrid. Are they better than you can see? I mean, everybody's really surprised that they're in the Champions League final last year. They didn't lose. It's not like they got blown out of the doors blown off them or anything. I mean, like, you know what? They don't really vie for the league, but they're not the one you want in a Champions League team, as Celtic found out the hard way. So, like, what do you think's going on over there? I mean, are they a threat, or are they always just a second place for life team?
I still think they're second place for life, but I do think they have an interesting team. Obviously, they made the Champions League final last year, so they're no slouches.
No.
They've obviously added Guirassy up top, who was absolutely killing it for Stuttgart last season, and he seems to be carrying on his goal-scoring form at Dortmund. So he's dangerous. They've got a dangerous team, but yeah, it's tough because obviously Edin Terzic left the managerial role, and they brought in Nuri Sahin for his first managerial job. So there's like a huge question mark over whether Sahin's up to the job as a coach as well. He's completely unknown. So I think it's too early to tell with Dortmund, but they have a very interesting squad. They made the Champions League final, so they could certainly be dangerous, but it's the history of Dortmund, right? They're second place for life.
Second place for life. Now you might be wondering, you might be wondering why we look at it so early. They only play 8 games, and I mentioned this last year when the system came out. GD is going to be huge. It's going to make the difference between you getting eliminated and not. The good news, there's 8 games. Some of these teams like Milan can possibly dig their way out. They've already played 2 good teams like right off the bat. With Inter, I forget the first team they played. They might be able to dig their way out, but you do not want to lose 3 in a row.
It was Liverpool.
It was Liverpool, so that's a tough start. They got Club Brugge next, so if they don't win that, I think Champions League might be over real quick. Remember, the way it works here is you get a bye if you finish up in the green here from 1st to 8th. These guys have to play a playoff against each other. I think it starts from 9 to 24, and then that gets you in with the big boys. After that, it would be a two-leg game around the winter. Remember, there's no off time for Champions League, which is interesting. I wonder how that's going to affect the German season because technically the Champions League teams will not be off during Christmas, and we're used to having Christmas off over here. So that's going to be kind of an interesting thing going forward. But yeah, don't look at this and because GD's going to decide whether you're in first place or not, whether you win this league or not. I guess I wonder, are they giving away a title to win the league?
I doubt it.
No, doubt it. Okay.
I think this is basically just group stages, but in a different format. I don't think it's like a proper league. It's just a way they're formatting the group stages now.
Gotcha. Inter Miami, we mentioned before, they're in the top. They're in the top. They're probably going to win the champion. I mean, it's really funny. Revolution will be defending against Inter Miami in MLS for the title, or they'll actually be tempted because they win. They won't. The New England will still be the point champions of all time. So you got what you see right here. My top teams are basically Cincinnati and up. I think all these teams could potentially win it. I don't see anything else, even my New York Red Bulls, but anything can happen in the playoffs. It's one game you can be out. You do get a best out of 3 to start off in the first round. But anything can happen in these matches, and they do. I was sitting next to you, and we were well ahead in London, and we were playing Cincinnati, and then they pulled off a spectacular victory at the end. Like literally, was it 2 minutes, 2 goals, and it's a good night. We were watching that at a bar together.
It was in the last 10 minutes of the game as well.
And it was utter domination. And since then, Cincinnati's become a dominant team. I guess a dark horse, strangely enough, look at that, Orlando. This is our dark horse team last year. They were hovering around below the playoff line for most of the season, completely turned it around. We needed that. The top 4 is, you get a bye if you're top 4. Knock New York Red Bulls out. Even the Smurfs have moved ahead. Red Bulls have been, Forsberg injury made them 2 different clubs before the All-Star break and after the All-Star break, 2 different clubs completely. Seattle, I don't like them for long. Actually, Real Salt Lake a little better. You can see they're tied right here. I can see them making a deep run, but they have underperformed. This has been like sort of an MLS underdog favorite, not underdog in the sense that they're a long shot, but this is the team that'll start competing with the top clubs. I do think that's possible, but they have yet to do it, and they're not consistent. I don't really see Seattle really doing too much in the playoffs. There's still a bit of a battle for let's see, 37? They could potentially, if Union can get a win in their final game, they might be able to get a wild card spot. So there's a little bit of a battle going on here. They turned their season around, strangely enough. They were one of the worst teams in the Eastern Conference. They've managed to pull it off. It's pretty much set in the West, and we're probably going to see an El Trafico in the playoffs, I think, more than likely. So there's my MLS sort of wrap up. Congratulations to potential MVP Lionel Messi. And if my team doesn't win, I'm rooting for Messi and the boys, because I like to see, I don't know, like any more titles Messi can get. Like Messi's got 2 titles now officially. He could have the point title, which is not official, but it's still an accomplishment. And he still has a shot at 2 more MLS Cups if he stays healthy. He's going to get a Champions League, or Champions Cup, as we call them in North America. I want to see how many titles he racks up in the twilight of his career, which I still think he's a fantastic player. He's also said that this is it. This is that Miami will more than likely be his final club. We may not see him in a Barcelona uniform. A lot of people expected that. I don't know if he's one of these guys. He doesn't seem like a guy that's going to drag it out. I think we're just looking at more of a Tony Cruz, I'm going to retire on top type of situation. So that means after this MLS Cup, it's 1 more year of Messi, and that's it. That's a wrap. So it's time to keep that in mind. Erling Haaland scores a brace. He officially becomes Norway's greatest goal scorer in history. What is he, like 22?
Yeah, 22, 23, something like that.
That's amazing. I don't know if it's a reflection of Norway or is it a reflection of Haaland, but congratulations to him. Something I'm noticing this more and more, and I'm kind of parlaying. You see this first tweet. Messi really stole this guy's Ballon d'Or. You know, the more time goes by, I think this is getting more and more popular opinion about Haaland. Look, Messi won the World Cup that year. It was an incredible story. He was not considered a great international player. Argentina definitely underperformed in the times that he was over there, and just prior to that too. This guy looks like he's going to be an all-time great, Haaland. You know, potentially a top 20, top 30 player. Did he steal it? I mean, did they give it to Messi because he's Messi? I mean, is the Ballon d'Or that much of a kind of a joke? It's more about, public profile than it is about actual accomplishment. I mean, guy wins the treble and Messi wins the World Cup. Certainly, that's a fantastic accomplishment, but this guy wins 3 championships in 1 year, and we just look the other way. And a goal scoring record on top of it. Messi gets 3 titles that year, one of which is not really considered that big a deal in Europe. I don't know.
Well, I was Team Haaland, so
I'm not preaching to choir.
I was already Team Haaland for that because I thought he had the best season of any player could ever have.
Yeah.
He broke the scoring record. He was the top scorer on the team that won all 3. They won the treble. Messi won the World Cup. And the main reason why I was Team Haaland was because a lot of people were saying stuff like, "Oh well, Haaland's young. He's got other chances to win it. This is Messi's last chance."
Really, not like something like this.
Who gives a shit?
That doesn't matter.
That doesn't win a trophy.
You know what? That shows if that's true, and that's where the Ballon d'Or voters voted. Well, Haaland's young, and the guy who gave it to you, how many already has the most of all time already? That's really a poor way of looking at it.
There was legitimately people who were making the argument, "Oh, Haaland's he can win a load, whereas Messi, this is his last chance." It's like that doesn't fucking matter.
No,
it's about who was the best player, not who. Yeah. Well, he can't win it anymore after this. Whereas the other guy, he'll have plenty of choices. Yeah, give it to the older guys.
Yeah, I did feel like
legit argument for me.
You did see this when he first got to the league and when he first got to the Prem, and he wouldn't be able to transfer that type of goal scoring that he had done in previous leagues, and he did that and blew records away. And I feel that it's always like Haaland. Certainly, he's not spectacular to watch or a total footballer like Mbappe is, but there's always a lot of Haaland's great, but he wins all the time. I mean, yeah, or he doesn't pass. His passes aren't good, or have you? And he does this, he does that, and I get the feeling he does exactly what he's told. He's coached by Pep. Thierry Henry's talked about if you just move one step across a line that he doesn't want you to cross, he will punish you for it. I don't know. This guy is a spectacular. He's a phenom. There are guys that are prettier to watch. There's sure. Sometimes he looks a little clunky with the ball, for sure. But I kind of wonder if that's the way, not clunky in the ball so much, but his positioning is completely a kind of a result of the way he's being coached or trained, for that matter. And he's being told to play that, and he can't play through his other strengths. Keep in mind, when he was coming up through Norway, he was known as a playmaker. So did that just go away, or did they look at his skill set and say, you got to concentrate and striker, and that's it? So I really wonder if he has a lot more to offer, and we're not getting to see it because of the way that Pep's playing him. Do you think there's any validity to that?
I think, yes, there is some validity to that. I think what this really reminds me of, funnily enough, is Cristiano Ronaldo. Cristiano Ronaldo is starting to become quite underrated in my eyes because people treat him the same way they do Erling Haaland. They act as if he's a goal scorer and literally nothing else, which, yeah, that's his role in the teams he's played in, but that was since he joined Juventus in like 2018, right? So it's 6 years that Cristiano Ronaldo's been doing that, and now people act as if that's his entire career.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas we had like 9 years of Cristiano Ronaldo, the winger, playmaker, assist.
Yeah.
He was making amazing amounts of assists and goals. And so it's like a similar thing there where now Ronaldo's role and Haaland's role is they're the man up top. They get the goals. The point of them is to get the ball and shoot and score. And so, yeah, I think it's a similar situation like Ronaldo now, where it's like people completely write off everything else they can do because the managers have realised, look, this is the best guy on our team to score goals. He is so lethal when we use him by just sticking him up there, and your job is to just get the ball and shoot because they get you so many goals and win you so many games like that, people just forget that they can do other things because... managers recognise, look, we've got a really good opportunity to win here if we just stick this guy up there and use these fantastic other players to get him the ball because he's just going to put it away every time.
I agree. Hey, Jürgen Klopp's running out of energy. Welcome to Red Bull.
Good thing he's got Red Bull.
Cass confirms why Paul, how do you say this guy's name? Paul Pogba?
Paul Pogba.
Paul Pogba's doping ban was reduced. And we talked about this a little. I'm not super familiar with his situation. He was banned, for 4 years initially, right? Now it's 18 months.
3 or 4 years, yeah.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years, something like that.
Long time.
They did reduce it. Now, his excuse was the doctor said I was good, and apparently he wasn't. Maybe you shouldn't be asking the doctor. Maybe you should be asking the people to take the test. If I pop for this, what's going to happen? No. And what does that mean? The doctor says I'm good. To be out of your system by the time you pee in that cup. What does that mean? That being said, I'm going to bring up something a little controversial. I am not for doping in sports by any stretch, but I am interested in understanding players getting back to fitness without destroying their bodies or doing something that has permanent damage or something like that. With some of these drugs, if they can be used in a responsible way and not just for cheating. And I think the problem is they don't let these guys take these drugs because you can always use the excuse that, hey, I was recovering from an injury. That's why I was taking these drugs. And you're actually cheating. And I do wonder, I do feel for this guy a little bit. I know he's a bit of a dummy from what I've been told by our Irish friends. But I don't know that he's not telling the truth here. Am I wrong, or is he just a cheater?
Well, I mean, Cass agree, right? So the article talks a bit about it. He basically said it was prescribed to him by doctors, and he was sort of unaware that he and so apparently he's had other doctors back him up in the courts.
Oh, really?
And Cass have agreed to, and that's why it's been dropped down. So I think he's legitimate about it. I don't see why someone like him would throw away his career stupidly. A similar thing happened to Onana.
Yeah.
Onana wasn't even doping. He just took something which could be used to mask doping. And so he got a
really?
year-long ban when he was at Ajax.
Mm.
And he basically said it was like some pain medicine he took from his girlfriend's cabinet.
Yeah.
And he got done for like a year. So I think it's like legitimate mistakes that can be made here. I don't think like Paul Pogba, right, he might be a bit of a dummy, right? But I don't think he's stupid enough to throw away his career.
Mm.
And, you know, he's going to have people around him who are going to be pushing him to be like, no, this is going to ruin you. Why the fuck would you do that? So I believe him. I think, yeah, maybe it was just a case of it was a mistake, but he wasn't looking to cheat in any way.
Yeah.
It was like a legitimate...
It's on the
mistake
surface,
sort of
it
thing.
sounds like the system needs to be changed, because if these guys are using these drugs to recover, I'm okay with that. But I have to be convinced that it's, and there has to be, you know, offenses like, oh, I'm recovering from an injury, that's why I'm all pumped up with this stuff. If people are taking over-the-counter drugs and losing a year, it sounds like the system needs to be overhauled a little bit, at very least. But there also has to be that fine balances where they're not excusing injury recoveries as a means to cheat. Now, this shouldn't be shocking at all. Pogba is older; he's in his 30s. LAFC is looking at him, but the more interesting to me is the fact that Marseille is looking at him. A team I decided to follow this year because they're taking all the bums and losers, and I hope they win the damn title. Liga is suddenly interesting. You know, I mean, really, it kind of is. It kind of is. I kind of like. I want to see Marseille do well because what do they got? Murderers and rapists and everything.
Yeah, they've got Mason Greenwood, an alleged sexual assaulter. He's got Amin Harit, who had like some manslaughter charges, which he got off of. You know, Elia Wahi had some sexual assault allegations as well. Then you've got Paul Pogba now, who's been banned for doping, who's potentially joining. And they were also linked to Benjamin Mendy, who did 6 cases of sexual assault. So it's like criminal FC.
I do want to point out some of these guys have been found innocent in court too. So I mean, they could be. You know,
he was innocent of 6 counts in court, so technically, legally, he's not done anything wrong. But it's just the fact that these people, they've at least been accused of all this, like, criminal shit, and Marseille's just, like, gobbling them up.
Yeah. It's an interesting project they're doing over there, huh, Pep? You know,
you want to bring a killer mentality to the squad, but, you know, this is what they meant.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. Oh, Jesus. Oh, man. And I think we're up to oddballs. Why is Sparta versus Sigma Olomouc? Why is this your oddball for today?
Because obviously we missed the podcast before because I was in Prague.
Sure. Oh.
And me and my friends went to this game.
Oh, awesome.
And so I just wanted to, it was kind of mad, right? So there was 7 of us.
Yeah.
And the Sparta Prague were at home, obviously, because we were in Prague. And they didn't have 7 seats altogether.
Oh, really?
So we thought, fuck it. There's loads of seats available in the away end for Sigma Olomouc, so we'll go with the away fans.
Okay.
We thought that'd be a fucking laugh.
Yeah.
So obviously we turn up. It's a stadium packed out with all these home fans, and then about like 30, 40 Sigma fans with us.
And you guys won! And you won with the red card!
Yeah, so it was fucking mental. It was just funny as fuck though. So it's like these Sigma fans probably were well confused why they've gone for an away game and there's just like 6, 7 English blokes drunk singing along with them. And so they go 1-0 down, right? Yeah. Bear in mind the history behind this, right? Sigma Olomouc haven't beaten Sparta Prague in Prague for 12 years.
Oh, Jesus.
Prague were unbeaten since March. So it looks like Sparta Prague going to run away with this. They go 1-0 up and then Sigma scored to make it 1-1, and it was just great scenes. We were getting in there. Loads of the ultras were taking off their shirts and stuff for the rest of the game. This was like in the evening as well.
Good times.
And so it was a bit chilly. And so we were like, if they go 2-1 up, shirts are coming off for us as well. That's why there's no photos I've sent because we're all shirtless in it.
Yeah.
And it was like, we were like, fuck it, we'll go with the ultras. We'll take the shirts off if they go 2-1 up. And they did. And it was absolutely mental scenes. Shirts off, we were jumping around with all these random Czech people were absolutely loving it. And then they go and score another to go 3-1 up. And we were going absolutely mental with these fans. The red card comes out. They get another goal. It was like so tense.
Oh, wow.
Holding on.
What a game.
They actually fucking won. And it was honestly second best footballing experience of my life.
Really?
Braintree winning the final. It was honestly just amazing. Just we're all pissed with all these random Sigma fans singing along. We managed to get them to sing a couple of times, like just by us singing like Sigma, and then they would join in.
Oh, really?
And then obviously they were doing their own chants in Czech that we were trying to join in with, but obviously we don't know Czech. So
that's what a great story. Yeah,
it was honestly fucking awesome. Just seeing this random team beat. Then we were talking
that's a Champions League team, correct? That does Sigma.
Yeah. That week they beat Salzburg like 3-0 in the week. Then we turned up, saw this, and it was fucking amazing. The fans, we got a few of the Instagrams and stuff, so they sent us like links to the bucket hats and stuff for Sigma.
You get a jersey?
Like stickers. They gave us like stickers and stuff, like because you know how like ultras they go and put stickers.
Yeah, everywhere. Yeah, I hate it.
Yeah. They gave us a ton of like Sigma stickers to take with us. Yeah. And like they gave us like links to like the merch and stuff like that. But it was fucking awesome.
I'm sorry. I'm glad I heard about it now for the first time. But the channel's called Glory Hunters. But somebody wrote, some German wrote, you guys couldn't be the furthest thing from Glory Hunters. But and I got to tell you, you see Welcome to Wrexham, maybe you watch MLS or something like that. Sometimes the smaller stuff is a lot more fun and a little less predictable. And I guess unless you're an Italian fan, where you never know what's going to happen in that league these past couple of years. But give your local a shot. I mean, if you're in the States, let me know how the USL goes. Maybe there's something going on over there, because football at all levels can be really spectacular. And lucky you, man.
We were just expecting Spa to win. We just thought, all right, it'd be cool to go see a game out here, go with the away fans, it'll be funny. And then it just became like this fucking amazing night where we go mental with these like 30 Sigma Olomouc fans. And it was fucking awesome.
That is amazing. I have been out of it, so I don't have an oddball, but it has to be one of the best oddball stories we have ever had. And we've had some good ones from Braintree and the Phoenix Cup, which was yours, and a promotion of Van Wiesbaden. And I think that's really where it's at. If you're American and you don't understand like why this game works, because it doesn't, like maybe you're into hockey or like NFL football and it doesn't seem rough and there's a lot of guys rolling the field. It's about what's going on in the stands a lot of the times. And if you can kind of capture that, I mean, a lot of times some of the Bill Burr said sometimes the fans are tougher than the guys on the field, and if you can get a part of that magic, because it's a really simple game at the end of the day. It's who puts in the back of the net and everything. And then you start to understand everything that goes into this. It can really capture you. So yeah, we're Glory Hunters for sure, and we're out of here. But maybe give your small club a chance. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a fantastic night. How do you say that team's name?
Sigma Olomouc.
There you go.